everybody in the room is aware of the Emergency Care Project. I've been really looking forward to hearing this talk, Self-advocacy and Emergency Preparedness, Doing it Well. Thank you.
Hello folks. Just some introductions. I'm Juliette Harris from the London EDS service, genetic counsellor in that service. I'm a proud member of Annabelle's Challenge Steering Group and Emergency Care Project.
Hi, I'm Gemma. I was diagnosed with VEDS in 2016. I'm also a doctor, about to become a GP in 3 weeks. I'm also volunteer on the steering group, the emergency care project group, and I'm a patient coordinator for Southwest.
Hi, I'm Jacqui, and my son George, who's now 26, has vascular EDS. Has had pretty much every complication that's been spoken about today, and I volunteer for Annabelle's Challenge as an area coordinator for the South East. I chair the Emergency Care Project, and I'm also on the steering committee, so very involved.
And 3 years ago, we stood on this very spot together with Beth over there, and we talked about the results. Of an Annabelle's survey that many of you, Annabelle's Challenge survey that many of you filled in. And that survey was asking questions. How do you get your needs met in urgent and routine care? What do you do? What works? Tell us. These are some of the questions that we asked. And we analysed the data, and we found consistently there were 8 domains where people, if they could practice those domains, it enabled them to get their needs met, called self-advocacy. And we decided this was really important work, and so we attempted to publish it. Publication gives it credibility, okay? And very, very lucky for us, we're not lucky because we did good work, but that was recognised. That was really recognised. We've been published academically, we've presented at national and international conferences and posters, and we've made sure to also write this in accessible writing and an accessible publication that all patients of all rare disease can learn from and read. So it's in the Rare Revolution magazine. I have copies of a lot of this work, and later on I'm going to give you a QR code. We're not going to go through all of these domains now. This is accessible, you can read this, it's been published, it's out there. But at the last conference, we got feedback from you, and you asked us to focus on a few of these domains. You wanted more from us, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. And through patient experience, through real life experience of practicing these domains and the positive impact that they've had. So over to Jacqui. The first question I'm going to ask you, Jacqui, is when did you first learn about vascular EDS?
So, this is George. He was originally diagnosed with hypermobility syndrome when he was 2, but as he got older it became very obvious to me that he had a lot of the symptoms and characteristics of vascular EDS. His skin was very fragile, and so I just carried on looking, and he was eventually diagnosed when he was 7.
And so once you learnt about his diagnosis, Jacqui, where did you get that information from?
Well, there wasn't an awful lot back in 2005, but I just kept on looking on the internet, talking to the doctors. I joined the EDS Support UK and ran their Surrey support group for many years, and through them I eventually started to meet people with vascular EDS. And then Facebook came along, we started sharing information and experiences, and then the EDS National Diagnostic Service took on the support of vascular EDS patients post-diagnosis, and their specialist knowledge is a key part of George's care, so we're just slowly building up.
And then once Annabelle's Challenge was established in 2013, how did that change things for you?
Well, massively. That was just the biggest relief ever, and that first weekend in Blackpool was an absolute game changer for me, meeting people who have vascular EDS, sharing our stories. For the first time in his life I didn't feel alone, and I'm sure you all relate to that. You know, we are a community now. With my experience of bringing up a child with vascular EDS, I offer to run the South East Support Group, where we have a safe space to talk and share knowledge and experiences. I'm also on the steering committee, and I chair the Emergency Care Project, where we created the Red Pack using all of our lived experience. And this is the education and outreach part of the toolkit. I get enormous validation from helping others, making a difference, effecting change, not to mention all the incredible friends that I've made. And the ripple effect of each person doing one thing is profound. And yeah, I spoke to these 7 medics, I think there's a picture coming up of them, in our local A&E. They're all emergency registrars at our local A&E, and they took the knowledge that I gave them and they passed it on. And the next time we went to A&E, the doctors knew about vascular EDS, and that knowledge saved George's life. And this is what it means to put self-advocacy into place. Just rippling it through, do something.
Thank you, Jacqui. But what helps you and your family deal with vascular EDS on a daily basis?
Reducing anxiety is really key for us. So being prepared with your Red Pack, have an emergency plan, developing good working relationships with your healthcare providers. In addition, George claims PIP. He's made sure his employers know about his diagnosis. He has reasonable adjustments in place. And then we can relax, knowing his needs are being met on a daily basis in both his home and work life.
So Jacqui, what else is in your self-advocacy?
I brought it with me! So let's have a look, shall we? All sorts of things. Yeah. So this is my self-advocacy toolkit. I've got enough hands. So, number 1, keep on top of appointments. Routine appointments, scans, they are important, as we've heard this morning. You know, get someone to help you with it, and work collaboratively with your GP through regular appointments. Okay, so routine medical care, it's on there somewhere. That's number 1. Number 2, and you know I'm bang on about this, have one of these. I hope every single person in this room who has vascular EDS has brought one of these with them today. And if you haven't, we've got them out on the desk. We'll show you how to do it. Okay, so have one of these. That's your emergency preparedness. And know what's in your pack. Understand the information in there so you can talk about it. Really important. Okay. What's next? We have a plan. Okay, this is my... George has a symptom, like a headache, and we're not sure. We have a plan. We know how we're going to escalate. We have a sort of stepwise plan. You know, how long are we going to sit on this before we go to A&E? Think about it. Think what your plan is. It helps to bring the anxiety down because you know what you're going to do. You're not just panicking. So you've got a plan. Knowledge, okay? Learn about everything, come to these things, find out everything you can. Keep up to date with current information. It helps you be proactive in your care. It makes a difference. So knowledge is at the top, hugely important. The more you know, the better you can talk to medics about your condition. And mental health. Physical health, hugely important. We've got to protect our mental health. So, you know, what do I do? I walk outside every day. It helps. It really does. Have a hobby that you love. Do something else. I'm mad. I sing really complicated choral music. That's what I do. But it gives me an outlet. It gives me something else to think about and do. And singing actually is the most amazing stress buster. Meet your friends for a coffee. You know, spend time with your mates. Hugely important. So yeah, and like I say, have fun. So this is my bucket. I was recently asked what was in my bucket list. What was on my bucket list? Do you know what? I was really gobsmacked to discover I don't have a bucket list. Yeah, you can have that. I don't have a bucket list. Okay. It's really liberating. Let go of the expectation of what life should be and enjoy the opportunities that come your way. When George's lungs were really, really bad and he wasn't allowed to fly, we went on our annual holiday to Menorca by train and ferry. Wow. It was amazing. The best holiday I've ever been on. Would never have considered doing it. It was so much fun. You know, good things can still happen. Embracing George's passions, I have built an enormous 5,000-piece Lego model. We've also made the Millennium Falcon, but I haven't got a photo of it, and Arthur sat on it, so... I've been to an e-gaming conference. Using my knowledge of all the stuff I've done with George, and as a way of giving back, I now volunteer as emergency first responder for the ambulance service. I volunteer for Annabelle's Challenge. I speak at conferences, and my name is even on a medical paper. I mean, who knew? All these opportunities that have come to me because of George's condition, that's to be celebrated. And, you know, and it's part of the education and outreach part of the toolkit. So, yeah.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Jacqui. And Gemma, would you like to add anything?
I think just to echo what Jacqui said, it's all about balance, kind of making sure you arm yourself with knowledge and you're prepared for kind of if something bad happens, but also enjoying life and kind of trying to still live life to the full.
But you're a busy doctor, really GP. I'm going to call you GP because I think you're pretty much amazing. As well as your day job, you're very active in Annabelle's Challenge. We've already seen you in one of the photos today. What are the main benefits to you? Where do you get the energy? Why do you do this?
I think there's kind of the obvious benefit of meeting all you lovely people and connecting with others. I really enjoy having the opportunity to keep up with what kind of the latest research is, but also be kind of actively involved in those studies and kind of have that opportunity to make change for all of us, which is really powerful. And I think kind of being kind of both patient and medical, it can bring something different to the groups.
So Jacqui and Gemma, one of the themes is having a good patient healthcare professional working relationship in routine and urgent care. Can you tell us your top tips? This is what people really wanted 3 years ago.
Yeah, so we're always thinking about the development of good working relationships between the patient and healthcare professionals. So I think about things like my body language, a relaxed and open stance, making eye contact, a calm tone of voice. Difficult in an emergency, but it makes a difference. I don't want to come across as accusatory or threatening. I want to show I know about the condition and what's recommended in the red pack, without questioning the doctor's abilities. So I try to talk about I and us, not you. So, for example, when George had a headache but few other symptoms, I said, I'm concerned that he could have a dissection. My understanding is that dissections can have a very subtle presentation in vascular EDS, and I know he's very young at 24 to have this, but it's something that people with VEDS have at all ages. As you can see here in our red pack. And on the back of that, they scanned him, and yes, he did have a dissection. So how you say it and the way you say it makes a difference.
I think from a doctor's perspective, I think this is really important, and that approach will come across really well. And it's kind of showing that you have the knowledge, but without coming across as patronising. Are there any other techniques that work for you?
Asking questions, I find, is really effective. Rather than demanding or telling a medic what you want, you could try asking, do you think this is the best approach given my diagnosis of VEDS? My understanding is it's not advised due to the fragility of my arteries. So just asking the question, putting the information into their head, and then point to the relevant section in the Emergency Information for Medical Professionals document that's in your pack. And I've used this successfully a few times when they've been talking about doing invasive investigations and they've changed their minds. So yes.
I think another thing would be to try and kind of not raise your voice or become angry, which I know can be very difficult if you're feeling scared or frustrated, but kind of trying to stay calm is very important. And I guess trying to stick to the point, try not to bombard them with too much information which might not be relevant to the current situation.
Yeah, that's a great tip. So I was actually told by a medic in A&E once that the written information in the red pack was really, really helpful. He said, with the best will in the world, in an emergency, he probably took in less than half of what I said to him. And having it all written down in the pack that he could refer back to, he really appreciated that. So, yeah.
Kind of following on from that, I think it's important to remember that medical professionals are also human and might be overworked, stressed, so it's also important to try and be patient with them. They might not have had time to read your notes. If you haven't been to that A&E before, they might not even have access to your medical records. Like where I work in Poole, there's different records for GP, hospital and A&E, so it's all quite broken up. I would go into things assuming they've never heard of vascular EDS before, and when you're explaining what VEDS is, try to do it in a way that doesn't come across as patronising. So something like, you may not have come across the vascular type of Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which is very different to the other types, such as hypermobile. I'm worried about whatever it is, a dissection, because of the higher risk of life-threatening complications which happen in the vascular type. Try to listen to them and try not to interrupt, and if you don't understand something they're saying, ask them to explain. I think the best outcomes are when there's no hierarchy between the doctor-patient relationship and it's just two adults having a conversation, and they kind of a conversation to reach kind of a mutually agreed decision that you're both happy with. If you don't agree with what they're saying, you could ask them to explain their reasoning for their decision and see if you can kind of try and challenge it that way. But ultimately, if you're not getting to where you want to, you always have the opportunity to ask for a second opinion.
Yeah, good advice. All of that I've used. And as a GP, almost, what would help you give the best possible care to a patient with vascular EDS?
I think trying to get to know one GP that you trust is important, but I know that can be difficult. When some surgeries it's difficult to see the same person, but it helps you not having to start from the beginning every time you see a doctor. Asking for a double appointment if you think that a 10-15 minute appointment is going to be difficult to cover everything you want to. Ask them to put a clearly visible alert on the front of your notes to say that you've got vascular EDS, and maybe kind of reference where they can find the summary letter from the EDS service, and then signpost your GP to resources, Annabelle's challenge, make sure they've got the contact details for specialists so they can contact them in kind of non-urgent, give non-urgent advice. Yeah.
Okay. And Jacqui, based on your past experience, which you told us is substantial, what advice would you give in how to deal with a medical emergency?
Be prepared. Be prepared, have the knowledge. In a high adrenaline situation, you do forget stuff. So if you've got it all sorted in your head before it happens, it's better. So we have our red pack, it's up to date, it's to hand. And I also have a crib sheet in my red pack of everything I need to remember when we go to A&E. So I don't have to think about it in a panic. And think about other resources as well. I'm not going to go into them, but on the AC website there's a whole section on emergency preparedness. So go have a look and find the things that work for you. I also practice self-advocating. I actually do little conversations in my head, and I try and work out what I'm going to say. And I believe in George. He knows his body, and if he says it's not right, we question it. You know, believe in what you think, because you know best. We always write down the times and dosages of any medication, any painkillers we've taken, and we keep a record of symptoms he's had and what time they have. So we're being proactive, we're working with the doctors, we're going in and we're giving them information that they need, and that helps them in his care. So we're developing those good working relationships. We always carry Zoff in our pack. I don't know if anybody's come across that, but it helps to get dressings off. It dissolves the glue. They don't have it in hospitals, it's really useful. And we are patient. A trip to an A&E is never going to be quick, and you just got to get your head around that. So, and then afterwards, we debrief. We think about what went well and we think about what didn't go well, and that's not to beat ourselves up about getting it wrong. There's no right or wrong, and every situation is different. But if you can bring your experience back to the support groups to give and receive ideas and advice, it's really helpful. We have learnt so much on the emergency care project by discussing people's lived experience. You know, that's how the pack came about. And that research and feedback, that's part of your toolkit, and it's really, really important. And when we've needed to, we have contacted PALS, which is the Patient Advice and Liaison Service at your local hospital. We've met with doctors post-emergency, and we've talked to them about it. And that's, again, you know, sharing knowledge. But where I would absolutely recommend you start on your self-advocacy journey that we're all on, is with your emergency pack. It's made all the difference for us, and I think a few people in this room. So we've put together a film explaining what it is and why you need it, and this is it, first time it's ever been shown, so here's our film.
Vascular Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome Emergency Pack.
Hi, I'm Jared from Annabelle's Challenge. We're the UK charity for Vascular Ehlers-Danlos Syndrome. And part of some of the work that we do is on emergency preparedness and self-advocacy. And I'm pleased to say that our emergency care project team have been working on the new VEDS Emergency Pack that we've launched, and we want to talk you through what that entails.
What is the emergency pack?
The Emergency Pack has been designed to give you the tools to help you advocate for yourself in the event of routine or medical emergency care.
The resources in this pack have been developed from the lived experience that people affected by vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome have faced when accessing emergency care.
Why is the pack important?
What you're about to hear are real quotes from vascular Ehlers-Danlos syndrome doctors, patients and carers. However, they are being read out by the team of volunteers who agreed to be in this film.
Because vascular EDS is so rare, it's very possible that doctors will not have had any experience of it or fully appreciate the associated risks. Therefore, the information in this pack is invaluable to them.
I was admitted to hospital with chest pain, thankfully nothing serious. I went armed with my emergency pack, and the doctor said he thought the pack was fantastic, informative, and showed that as a patient I knew about my condition. I was confident for the first time in 6 years that they were taking the condition seriously.
I had to use my emergency pack during a hospital stay recently, and it was a lifesaver. After insisting that it was read by every member of staff I met, it actually changed their approaches and was referred to frequently. It gave me the confidence to go to A&E.
The thought of preparing for an emergency was very daunting, but now that I have my pack, I feel less anxious. It's useful to have all of the information in one place, which doctors can also refer back to if they need it.
What is in the emergency pack?
Front page.
This provides personal information you will be asked for when you arrive at A&E. The QR code to access emergency information for medical professionals.
Emergency information for medical professionals. Translations into other languages are available.
This contains the same information as your blue wallet card. This document can also be accessed via the QR code on the front page of your pack.
Letter from the EDS service.
If you are seen by the London or Sheffield service, they will have provided you with a personalised letter which you can add to your pack. This also includes the emergency information for medical professionals document.
GP letter template.
Ask your GP to write you a letter following this template. It provides additional medical information personal to you, such as medical history, list of medications, and known allergies. The GP letter is especially useful if you have a prior medical history.
Care team template.
This is your opportunity to document the medical professionals involved in your care. This is unique to you and you can add or delete